wonder if you can hear me. I think you can. Hi, creative people, and welcome to The Vibe. This is Juanine here, your creative alignment coach, coming to you with a pep talk about stable creativity. Okay? And so, it's very interesting when I think about this topic of stable creativity. And that's because, what does it mean, right? Like when you hear stable creativity, what comes to mind? Stability and creativity. What does stable creativity look like for you? For me, stable creativity means that I can create on a consistent basis in a way that makes me feel good. Like I want to feel good while I'm creating. I do. I don't want to feel forced. I don't want to feel like if I don't create it, everything's going to crumble and end. Like I want to create because it feels good. Those are my best creations. Like the food that I make for myself, my clients, it has the vibration it does because not only do I tune it with tuning forks, but I also tune it with my tuning fork because I am a walking, my voice is a tuning fork. I'm a walking frequency calibrator. And so when I make something, I have to, it's all that I am goes into that thing. So if I am not feeling well or feeling chaotic or off, that is also what resonates within my creations. So that resonance could be in the food that you create, like the menus that you create. That resonance could be in the art that you're creating, in your tone of voice, right? When you're speaking, because our words have power, they're vibratory in nature. And so the pattern, the wavelengths of our voice, it's creating something as we speak, right? So when you think about creativity in that sense, way beyond just a poem or a song, right? What are other things that you create? Being a creator, we should be creating something every day. It could be a lovely romantic moment. It could be a great conversation, creating a great conversation, right? It requires thinking, it requires imagination, it requires participation, it requires observation, right? Think about all the things that you create and what the most stable version of that looks like. Okay? And that is a goal to set for yourself. So for me, I like to create, being stable in my creation. I need a clean environment. I need a peaceful environment. I need something that sparks imagination. So I like colors or shapes, or like even in my food, like I like to use colorful food when I'm cooking, right? So it's like, what do you need? What do you need? Because oftentimes we go through life expecting people to do things that we feel like they need to know or that they should know about us, and we've never even communicated that, and that's not fair. And it's the same thing with the universe. We walk around saying, oh, God didn't do this, God didn't do that, oh, the universe this, the universe that, this doesn't work, faith doesn't work. But how are you communicating your needs? Have you even recognized that you have a need, or are you just complaining when you realize that there's something that you feel like complaining about? right? So instead of copping an attitude with God, why don't you cop some clarity with yourself and figure out what it is you want and you need. That's why self-development is so important, because it teaches you how to communicate. Communicate your needs, communicate your wants, communicate your desires. And so you have to know what it is. You have to spend some time alone. You have to spend some time playing, right? Play around so you can discover what that frequency feels like and looks like. So sometimes it's hard to say what stability looks like for you in an area that you've never experienced before, right? So if you've never experienced it, how can you really know if it's on point or off point? And the way you can really know is you got to try it. So you have to set a goal of what, when you imagine what you think it would feel like, and you be like, oh, okay, well, I've had a not so enjoyable experience in this area. So what would the opposite of that look like for me? Even if you've never experienced it, you can imagine it, right? What does the opposite of that look like for me? And then once you imagine what the opposite of that looks like, then you can set a goal for yourself of, I would like to create this environment for myself so that I can create regularly, or so that I can create peacefully, or I can create with sparks that of imagination in a way that I feel good about and that is still compatible with the people that are around me or the environments that I'm in. You have to figure out what that is, right? And then you can set a goal. When you set a goal and you actually move towards achieving that goal and you achieve the goal, then you have to make regular check-ins to see, what are the strengths of that goal? Did it work out? Were there some weaknesses about the goal that you need to be more specific about the next time around? What were the opportunities that you found with the goal? And what were some of the threats that came around that kept you from achieving the goal? You have to ask yourself those type of questions and check in, because oftentimes I think what happens is we set goals, right? And we say, this is what I want to create, this is what I want to do. But then we do it, and then it doesn't happen the way we imagined, and then we stop trying. That's what happens with a lot of people. I've been there, so I can say it's not where I'm at, but I do understand. And then you stop trying altogether, right? But when you get to the point where it's like, oh, friggin' snaps, like, what is going on? This is not what I was imagining. This is not the reality I was trying to create. It may be because the reality is still in process. You're not there yet, right? So you have to be a lot more patient with yourself and a lot more strategic with your calendar and your intentions on how serious you're taking your goals and what you need for yourself, right? So when it comes to having stable creativity, you first, number one, need to know what that is for you. What does it mean? What does stable creativity mean to you, right? And then once you figure out what that looks like for your life, then you need to, number two, set a goal, okay? And then after you set that goal, number three, you need to make a plan to take action towards achieving that stable creativity in your life. And then number four, as you make a plan, you start taking action. And number five is you have to check in on those actions regularly, right? So depending on how vast your goal is, you may need, or how short-term your goal is. If you have a short-term goal, you may need to check in every week or every 2 weeks. If you have a longer-term goal, maybe you're checking in every month, every quarter, right? But you have to determine what the needs of the check-ins are for the goal and see how it's going. Are you actually achieving the goal? If you're close to achieving it, are you achieving the feeling that you thought you would have for that stable creativity. If not, maybe you need to rework the goal completely. Maybe you need to scrap it and be like, oh, that's what I thought I wanted until I started getting it. Now I know this is what stable creativity looks like for me from here. And then you do the process again, right? You set the goal, you start taking actions, you do regular check-ins, and see if that feels right, if it's hitting the spot. You know what I'm saying? And if not, then you rework it and you just keep doing that process until you actually learn how to magnify what it is you want and see it clearly faster. And then learning the best path to manifesting that for yourself. And when you get really good at that, you'll find yourself creating less in chaos and more in peace. That's what I have for you right now. So until next time, no matter what you do or how you do it, be authentic. Be authentic. Be authentic. Authentic. Be authentic. Be authentic. Be authentic. Yeah.